Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Kirsten and it's the start of yet another weekly vlog, except this time I'm starting it with a really bad headache. I went to bed with it last night and I've woken up with it. It's always fun when that one happens, and I have work today. Hopefully it will settle over the course of the day. But book news. I did start Meat Market by Juno Dawson last night and I'm enjoying it, but not as much as Wonderland. So in this one we're following our main character as she has been scouted for a modelling agency and she decides, you know what? Why not? Let me give this a try. It is dealing with some dark topics so far. We have seen some drug use in this. Not our main character has taken part in the drug use, but just she's been around it as it's happening, and you can start to see some of the darker things creeping up to do with the modelling agency. We also have a lot of talk about weight, anorexia, bulimia. Again, our main character isn't anorexic, but it just has a lot of these discussions in there, so just trigger warnings for that just in case. I'm almost halfway through. I'm hoping it picks up a little bit. I mean, it's quite, for me it's a different read. Like, we are just following this girl as she's trying to deal with school and also keeping up with the modelling agency and the pressures of both. So it's an interesting read, but it's not one I would normally gravitate to. But this is for the prompt of Magic Box. This is the prompt that I changed because originally it's supposed to be a book with music in it, which I realised after filming the TBR video that I actually do have books with music in. Our Dark Duet is one of my favourites, but I decided to use Willow's Power to change the prompt and instead went for a contemporary. So this is me trying to branch out, read more contemporaries. Contemporaries aren't something I normally gravitate towards. I have been reading more of them this year, and some of them I'm finding I do quite enjoy, and some just aren't quite hitting that mark for me. I am still a fantasy reader at heart. Anyway, as I said, I have work today. Fingers crossed this headache goes. If it does, I'll try and read some more of Meat Market, but if it doesn't, it's going to be a slow reading week, guys, but we will see. Good morning. I did have a very chilled evening. I even sat and watched a film, as you saw, for like the first time in absolutely ages. My headache did eventually go, but not until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was just very, very tired and just did not have the energy in me to do much. So I literally got home, put a film on and chilled because I just could not focus. But I did start The Damned last night and I am enjoying it so much. I only read the first 50 pages because, as I said, I was really tired anyway, but I just wanted to pick it up. I've put down Meat Market for the moment. I'm just not feeling it. I think I've got to be in the right mindset to read contemporary, and I don't mind some contemporaries, but this is one that's a bit slow. I'm not quite as invested in it. I will finish it, definitely this week, but I kind of want to break for a moment and just indulge in The Damned, because this is a book I have been so excited to read. This was one of my most anticipated for this month, and I have deliberately kept it till the last week because I wanted something to look forward to, because normally I read all the books I'm most excited for at the start of the month, and then the end of the month I tend to be quite slow and slumpy in my reading. So I'm really pleased I did, because as I said, Meat Market is good, but it's not one that I'm really enjoying. So it's nice to have this one to break it up with, and I love it. I love it so much. This is the second book. The first book is The Beautiful by Renee Adhieh, and I absolutely love it. We're set in New Orleans in the French Quarter, and we're following a main character called Celine as she kind of stumbles into this world where there's been some murders that are happening, and Celine's very much a woman that's quite forward thinking for the time that it's set in, and is very much like, I don't need a man. I just want myself and I want to be happy, and I like it. She's got a bit of a dark past to her, and she gets caught up in a seedy underside of New Orleans. I love it. I know a lot of people complain that the vampires are not prominent in that, but honestly I really think they are. I could tell it was vampires straight away. Yes, it's not explicitly said this is vampires, but you do have scenes where people are getting their throats ripped out, so I'm just going to say that's vampires to me. In this book, it's a completely different story. Within the first 50 pages, you've already had talk about werewolves, fae, and vampires. it's definitely picked up a notch. It's definitely got more supernatural elements to it, and I just cannot wait to carry on because of how it ended in The Beautiful and everything that happened with Celine and Bastien, and oh my god, I just love it so much. So I'm really pleased I picked this one up, and I will probably be continuing with this one today, but I do need to edit last week's vlog and get that all sorted out after work, so we'll see how much reading I actually get done. But then I am off tomorrow, so I don't know, guys. This week just feels a bit hazy for me. Because of the headache from yesterday, I'm still a little bit tired and not quite with it. So this is really rambly and I apologise. But if you haven't read The Beautiful, please pick it up. It's been one of my favourite books for the year, and I'm just so excited that I'm now reading The Damned because I love it. I think it's amazing. I have had a rather relaxing day off. I was very productive in the morning. I got some filming and editing and all of that stuff done, so that was really good. And then this afternoon I just chilled. Like, I just relaxed with me and my partner, and it was just lovely. Although I did finish Meat Market by Juno Dawson, and I will say where I left it off, I think that was just getting to know Jana as a character and setting the scene for who she is as a person, because you need to know that to realise the amount of change that she actually goes through as a result of this industry, the peer pressure that she is put under, and then of course something happens to her which is just, I mean, it's horrible what she's had to go through, but you see her dealing with it, the after effects, the anxiety, how it impacts her life. And it was a really impactful read. It was difficult in places, but it was carrying an important message, which is basically it's okay to speak out against things. Like, you don't have to stay silent. If something is making you uncomfortable, then speak out against it. And I think that's a really important lesson to learn and to have mentioned in a book. And I think it was really well done. It does show you the social media side of things, how social media can literally rip you apart, and how so many people can pick at you at things and call you a whiner and a wimp and things like that. And it's horrid, but it is true. That is the world that we live in. So it had a lot of good social commentary. I will admit this came out as a 3 stars. I think for me, contemporary is still something that, while I enjoy it occasionally, it's still not my favourite. I don't think there's any full atmosphere build up in the books, and so as a result it gets a lower rating on Corpile, causing it to end up as a lower star rating. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, because I do think it was well done. I actually can't say I enjoyed the story. I think it was well written and is an impactful story, but it's not something that you can just sit down and enjoy reading because of what it is. So just go into this, be mindful of the trigger warnings that are in this, and like I said, it's got brilliant social commentary. I really appreciated that aspect of it, and I can say this is a story I appreciated. I didn't dislike it by any means, but it's also not one that I could see myself rereading just for enjoyment value, because it's really not that sort of book. But that is another prompt down for my Slayerfest TBR. However, I still have 2 left for that TBR, and I know I'm just not going to finish it, so I think, to be quite honest, I'm just going to enjoy my read of The Damned and just take my time, and if I get a chance I'll complete one more prompt on the Slayerfest TBR, but I think I've done pretty well. I've done 8 or 9 of the prompts. 9 of the prompts, because there was 11 books in total that I had to read, and I've read 9 of them, so I think that's not bad. But I'm going to stop rambling. I am rather tired, so I will catch up with you when I've read some more. Hello! I had such a nice reading evening last night, I won't even lie. I enjoyed it so much. I made some decent progress with The Damned, and I'm now up to page 200, which is literally just over the halfway mark, and I'm loving this. Now, for those of you that have read The Beautiful or haven't, because you've had some mixed things about it because of the fact that it is marketed as a vampire book, but I will admit the vampires are not prominent in there. I still think there are vampires in there. I still think it is there, it's just not thrown in your face. But for those of you that don't like that, stick with it, because oh my god, you are pretty much getting every supernatural creature thrown at you in this book. Like, it's so good, and I have a theory as to why that is. In the first book, we are mainly following the perspective of Celine, and so she's just arrived to New Orleans, and there are this series of murders that are happening, and she just kind of gets swept up into this seedy underside of New Orleans, and she knows something's not quite right, but she's not sure what it is 100% until towards the end of the book. And then we get book number 2, which I can't give away the plot of this because it does give away spoilers for The Beautiful, but we're seeing it mainly from Bastien's perspective and the perspectives of some of the inner circle, and that is where you are literally thrown so many supernatural things, because it's just, it's really well done. And so there is a lot of information being thrown at you in this. There's so much to do with like politics between the different creatures and stuff, but I find it fascinating, and it really does give you a change of pace. Now, Celine has been in a couple of chapters of this so far, but honestly, she's not the main perspective. That is Bastien, and I really like that. I think it's a nice change of pace, and there are some things happening in this where I'm just like, oh, I really want to see what's going to happen. It's so intriguing. I'm absolutely loving it, and I think it's going to be amazing. So I'm already loving this. I think it's brilliant, and I do have to say, for those of you that didn't think The Beautiful was good because you don't get enough vampires and stuff, please just persevere until you get to this book and read this one. And if at the end of it you're still not a fan, fair enough, but at least try, because I do think it's a good build up to this world, which is just phenomenal. So I do plan on finishing this up this week, which I should be able to do quite easily. If I don't finish it off this evening, I'll be surprised because I'm loving it. But I know it's Saturday, me and my partner are going out for the evening, so I'm not going to read much at all then. So I'm really hoping I get this finished, and then I can start my November TBR on time on Sunday, which will be impressive. Which, if you haven't seen that video, that November TBR is now out, and it's a lot more manageable than this month, I will not lie, because at the end of this month I have 2 prompts that I haven't fulfilled for the Slayerfest TBR, and I feel kind of bummed about it, but at the same time I did have 13 books on my TBR, and I've been struggling to read that many where I'm back at work, so it just wasn't happening. But this is book number 11 for the month, so that's not a bad amount, to be fair. Good morning and happy Halloween to my fellow ghouls, witches and little beasties. I hope you're having a lovely Halloween no matter what you are doing. For me personally, I am working, but that's okay because, you know, there isn't much going on because of Halloween this year anyway. But I did finish The Damned last night, and this was brilliant. I haven't had time to put it through Corpal yet. Corpal is the book rating system that I use, that G from Book Roast created. I'll have her channel linked below, and I find it really helpful just to give a true representation of how I felt about the book and a really concise way of giving a star rating. Now, I will admit, I do prefer The Beautiful. I think the atmosphere in The Beautiful was a lot grittier and just richer, and I think because of the slower pacing of the book, it really added to the feel of it. Not to say I didn't like this, it's just it didn't have that same atmosphere for me personally, because it's a lot more action-packed, it's a lot more fast-paced, and we're finding so much about this supernatural world that Celine has been brought into, that she's having to deal with, that Bastien's dealing with, and there is so many elements to it that is a bit almost overwhelming compared to how The Beautiful was, in a very slower, sly way rather than quite in your face as The Damned is. Again, not to say that that's a bad thing, but just something that was the biggest thing I noted on, is that the feel between the 2 books is very different. You have one that's slower paced and richer and has more emphasis on the atmosphere and building up our characters, and then we have The Damned, which is a lot more plot driven, a lot faster paced, and there's a lot of things happening within it. So I did really enjoy it. I'll put the star rating up here as to what it ends up coming out as, and definitely a brilliant way to finish my October reading, because to be fair, I don't think I'm gonna have time to pick up another book. Although on my lunch break at work yesterday, I did start Edgedancer by Brandon Sanderson. Now this is a bind up of all of Brandon Sanderson's short stories that he's done alongside like the Cosmere and that, and one of them is the Edgedancer, which takes part in the Stormlight Archive, which is technically book 2.5. Now I've already read the third book, Oathbringer. I read that earlier this year while I was on holiday, and I hadn't read Edgedancer. To be fair, I didn't even know it was a book. I recently got this bind up, I think in May, and really wanted to get around to reading Edgedancer before The Rhythm of War comes out at the end of November, because I'm going to be reading that in December. So I really wanted to pick up this, and I was just really feeling it, and it's a short story, which is perfect for while I'm on lunch at work, because sometimes I don't get a long lunch break or it gets interrupted, so it's an easy thing to be able to pick up, and I really love it. It's about one of our characters called Lift, and she is just an awesome character. I really love her perspective. I love her voice in it. I think it's really well done, so I'm really enjoying this. And it does have spoilers for the second book, so make sure if you are reading the Stormlight Archive, you do read it after the second book. And again, you can read it after the third book if you want to. It is just a short story, it goes alongside it, but I haven't actually finished it. I've only read the first 2 chapters of it, so I might finish this up today. I doubt it, because I work and then it's date night as per usual, so I don't know if I'm going to get a chance, but this is the final book that I've started in October and I'm enjoying it. I love Brandon Sanderson's work anyway. The Stormlight Archive is an amazing epic fantasy series, and I think it's set to be 12 books long, which is massive. It's absolutely huge, but I really love it. We have these 2 races that are fighting a war between each other, because one, on the night of signing a peace treaty, assassinated the king of the other race, and it all kind of falls out from there. And there's things to do with shard plate and shard swords, and if you have these then you're really powerful and well revered, and there's a lot of politics involved. There's a brilliant magic system, we follow multiple perspectives, and it's just really good. But this one is just solely focusing on our side character called Lift, and as I said, I really do love her. I think she is so humorous and brilliant. It's a joy to read. But alas, duty calls and I must go to work, but I do hope you enjoy your Halloween regardless of what you're doing, as I said. Good evening all. I'm going to wrap up the vlog here today. I have 0 reading updates. I do apologise, but at the same time I've had a brilliant weekend. So in the evening, me and my partner went out to have a delicious meal. We went to a Korean barbecue place. Most expensive meal out I've ever had, but the most delicious tasting food. It was absolutely beautiful. I loved it. And apart from that, I've been doing a bit of Christmas shopping, and that is really it today. I am planning to chill out and read this evening, but I don't really know what I want to read, although technically it's November, so I should start my November TBR, which means I have to read my punishment book. If you haven't seen that video, do check it out. It will be up before this one, and you'll see what that punishment ends up being. But for now, I hope you're all keeping safe, and as always, if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All my social media links to my Instagram, Goodreads and Twitter will be linked below, and I'll catch you in the next one.